Hi there, welcome to Healing After Infant Loss. My name is Rosie and today we are talking to Yari, who is a licensed mental health counsellor in the state of Florida. We have a 25-minute conversation talking about trauma after infant loss. Here's some of the topics that we cover. What is trauma? How does trauma show up in the body? How to shake your body to release tension? Symptoms of trauma? How to release trauma? How often to release trauma? We talked about the fact that people don't experience trauma in the same way. We also talked about how does a belief system help with trauma, especially after infant loss. We talk about gene expression, can mindset cause miscarriage? And then we also talk about energetic modalities such as Reiki, womb healing, chakra balancing, tapping, and then also we touch upon herbal medicines as well. So we talk about lots of different things in this video and I really hope you find it useful. I'm going to leave Yari's information in the description box down below so you can go ahead and find her there. But otherwise, enjoy the video. Hi Yari, welcome to Healing After Infant Loss. Thank you so much for being here today. Would you like to introduce yourself and talk about what you do and who you are a little bit for the audience?
Yes, hi Rosie, and thank you so much for inviting me. My name is Yariela Sequeira, I go by Yari. I'm a licensed mental health counselor and I have been working in the field of counseling for over a decade and some more. I knew since very young that this is what I wanted to do. And I've had the blessing of working with different populations, inmates, court-ordered clients, families, sexual offenders, substance use, the homeless. Since 2018, I've been in private practice. And in private practice, I've been servicing those in the day-to-day weekly routine of life, addressing life changes, stressors, relationships, self-esteem, anxiety, depression, and all the fun stuff that comes with living.
So in today's video, I would love to talk to you about trauma after infant loss. So could you explain to us briefly what is trauma?
So trauma is not based on what happened. Trauma is a response to what happened. So there are traumatic experiences, yet it is the interpretation or the processing of those experiences that maintain the emotions or the intensity around it. So Dr. Gabor Mate, which is a neurologist and psychiatrist from Canada, speaks a lot about the topic and explains that our brain is the one that gets to decide based on our perception of things, how we maintain trauma language, how we are feeling we can manage or not, and based on those factors, the trauma is either prevalent, chronic, acute, or we're able to process it in a more manageable way. So trauma doesn't necessarily mean I had a loss, you had a loss, is traumatic to me and equally traumatic to you. That's where belief system comes into play.
So how does trauma show up in the body? Because I know that there's the book The Body Keeps the Score. I've not read it myself, but I've heard that trauma stays in the tissues, and by movement and yoga and things you can move the trauma. Can you explain a little bit about how that works? That might sound a little bit mind-boggling to people that haven't really heard that concept before.
Yeah, so there is a saying that goes, I have issues in my tissues. And what this alludes to is that the body holds tension. So from a basic day-to-day life experience, we're out into the world and we have our phones that are constantly text messages, notifications, calls. Those are stressful moments. The body is not used to ding, 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 right? So the body is constantly in a stress-receiving reality, now more than ever before. So stress is a fact. We're all stressed every day by something or someone. So there's tension that the body is holding. If we do not take the time to release that tension consciously, the body just holds and holds because it loves you. It loves you so much that says, whatever you give me, I'm going to hold and hold and hold until one day I can't hold anymore, and voila, we have a bunch of different symptoms. So some of the symptoms could include physical symptoms, cognitive symptoms, behavioral symptoms. And if we don't allow ourselves to move that tension, it just becomes rigid and it can somaticize into an illness. So this is where the body is talking to you and the body's keeping the score. The body is never there to hurt you. Sometimes there's a miscommunication, misread in the system where the body's like, I don't know what's going on. We're better off if this happens. But that's just the body's default to help and support so that it doesn't get worse. So when there's symptoms involved that you're like, oh, I have fatigue, I can't sleep, or I have insomnia, or my appetite has changed, or now my immune system is just weakened. That's the body saying, we need to do something about this, right? And if you disregard it because you're angry at your body, the body's going to say, okay, we need to bring it up a notch so that you can listen to me, because this is not good. We need to release, right? So maybe it turns into an illness or a disease or a condition. And usually that's when people wake up and be like, oh, we need to do something about this. Sometimes still people don't want to listen because they're still very upset, and then it gets worse and worse and worse. The body's trying to communicate, we need to release, we need to release. So because we are animals, we're part of the animal kingdom, one of the easiest ways to release is by shaking, right? So when you see an animal in the wild, or if you have a dog at home or a cat, and something happens, they're like, and they shake it off, right? That's a normal response to releasing stress. And this is why in the modern world, dancing is so popular. Exercise is so popular. Exercise doesn't necessarily involve a lot of shaking, but it does have the stretching, and it does have bringing in flexibility to our body and giving it some movement so that it releases some of the tension that might be accumulated there. But when it comes to more helpful movements, then we are talking about dancing, shaking, breathing consciously, and having a heart-centered approach where you close your eyes and you feel into your heart and you take a couple of breaths and you release consciously, right? And if you follow up with some shaking or some stretching, right? Or some just movement or just static dancing, then you're releasing. There's a lot of information being shared on the power of releasing strong emotions from the hips. So dancing is usually one of those that allows the hip to move a lot more, and that's why yoga is also very helpful, because it has movements that open up those spaces in the body that can release at a deeper level.
When you say shaking, is there a way to shake, or is it literally just shaking however feels good in your body?
You shake, right? So if you're sitting down, I just shake.
Okay.
Right? And if I'm standing up, I shake.
Okay.
Right? And if for whatever reason you don't have that much movement, you can ooze. Right? You can ooze to the best of your ability.
And then people can know that, because you don't physically feel the trauma in your body, but it's more like you said, you have the symptoms. So that's how people could know that maybe there's something going on, is if they start to feel some of the symptoms, and then they can start to think, okay, maybe I should listen to my body and explore different ways that I can move and find something that works for them. Because obviously not everybody's going to want to dance, not everyone's going to want to shake, but that's the main thing, is to sort of pay attention to your body first, because you don't physically feel it, do you, if I'm correct?
So you do when you don't.
Okay.
It all depends how much attention you're paying to your body.
Okay.
Right? So if, for instance, you never touch your body, if I never like, oh my God, if I never touch myself, I might never notice it. But if I'm like, okay, let me tap a little bit and let me check in to see if any of my body parts are tense, you're going to know the moment you go, that hurts, right? Or if you're going to bring a little stretch and you're like, I can't move, you'll know. Those are signs that your body is accumulated stress. If you are not going to touch your body for whatever reason, then fatigue is one of the symptoms. Sleep disturbances, and it could be I'm either sleeping too much or sleeping too little or not sleeping at all or sleeping intermittently, right? So any type of sleep disturbance. Appetite changes, same scenario. I either eat too much, eat too little, I restrict my eating, or I'm intermittently eating, I skip meals. So any change in appetite as well. Any disease or illness or condition that was not there before, and it could even be as small as a rash. So a rash could be an allergic reaction, but from Eastern medicine, everything has an emotional component. So a small rash definitely means something happened that your body was like, what? So anything different that you notice is a sign that something's going on. Behaviorally, there could be symptoms of withdrawals or isolation, changes in your routine. Again, I don't want to do as much as I used to. I'm doing too little. I'm overdoing it. I'm sometimes yes, sometimes no. I don't care as much, right? So changes in behavior too. Substance use. And this also includes medication use, right? Sometimes I'm taking too much medication. Or now I'm relying on Advil PM, Tylenol PM to go to sleep, when before I didn't rely on any of that. There could be changes in decision making. Maybe you're now being radical, or you're impulsive, or you can't make any decisions, right? And there's the neglect of self-care. I don't want to, I'm not interested.
There's a lot to consider, and sort of check in with yourself and, you know, how am I feeling? Have I changed? And yeah. Is there a recommended amount of times per week or per day or something that somebody should be releasing? So, you know, shaking or yoga or dancing, you know, is it half an hour per week and then I'll be fine? Or is it 10 minutes a day? You know, is there any sort of recommended, or is it just based on the person and what they've been through, how they're feeling? How do you have any advice with that?
So in an ideal world, every day you would be doing something to release whatever you accumulated throughout your day, right? So if imagine we're a container. Every day our container gets full, right? That's why every day we need to sleep to recharge. So if our container is full, just like with our cell phones, we need to plug it in to recharge our cell phone every night. We need to recharge every night. And one of the ways we recharge besides sleep is through releasing tension. A lot of people have substituted movement with television binging. So yes, there is an aspect of dissociation that goes into watching TV that takes you into another world, and you can laugh and you can imagine being in that world, and it could be fun. Nevertheless, if there's no movement, your mind relaxed, but your body didn't. So even 5 minutes a day, if you consciously, intentionally say, okay, in these 5 minutes, I'm going to release whatever I got, whether it is walking, whether it is going from your office downstairs, taking a few breaths, going back up, you moved, right? So it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Intention goes a long way.
You mentioned earlier that just because I go through something and you go through something, it doesn't mean we experience things the same way. Could you elaborate on that? Because I think sometimes, especially with infant loss, you know, if somebody's been through a miscarriage, they might have a completely different experience to somebody else who's been through a miscarriage. It might be the case that they didn't want to get pregnant and actually they're quite relieved, or they've been trying for 10 years and this is their miracle baby and they had a miscarriage, or there's so many different scenarios. But going through an experience like infant loss and then also getting the trauma from the infant loss can affect people in so many different ways. Could you talk about that as well?
Yes, so this is where, again, belief system comes into play. So let's say you are completely agnostic and you don't believe in anything particularly, right? So you go through a loss, you're going to go through grief and, oh my God, I can't believe this. And I don't understand. Why is this happening to me? I knew there's no God. This is proof that there's no God, because if there would be a God, this wouldn't have happened to me. God would not have done this, right? Agnostic perspective. Let's say you're super religious and you believe that God is going to be there for you no matter what, and sometimes you don't understand why, but you're going to go through it. So the super religious person is going to say, you know what, I don't understand, but if God is allowing me to go through this, then it must be for a reason, and I know I will go through it because God is by my side. If you're spiritual, then the perspective would be more along the lines of, I can't believe this is happening to me. Let me try to understand what's going on here, and what is the message that there is for me. What do I need to look into? So you might have conversations around soul contracts and how every child from this perspective that comes into your body, the energy of that child has a contract with you, and sometimes the contracts are short term because that's what that baby or the soul of that baby wanted. And from that angle, it would make sense that it wouldn't continue on full term, because that baby just wanted 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and then be gone and transition into what that baby and that soul needed for them. And yet it is part of your journey as well. So different belief systems have a lot to do with how you process and interpret what you're going through. And that's why it's different when you're talking about how I experience the traumatic event, but it might be different from how you're experiencing it.
Yeah. I watched a YouTube video recently of this couple who had experienced a stillbirth. I think the baby was around 23, 25 weeks, something like that. But they're both religious, and I think he's a pastor, and they're super involved in the church, and they did a video talking about their experience, and it was so eye-opening and so interesting to me, because I don't believe in anything, and I never have done. I would say the past couple of years I've gotten a little bit more spiritual in that sense, but I wouldn't really say I'm a spiritual person. And when I went through the abortion, for example, when I was 26 weeks, so similar time frame, I was so angry, so depressed. For 9 months, I just didn't really do anything. I was in bed all day and crying, and I was in such a deep, dark place. But then watching them talk about it, I think it only happened maybe a month or two prior, or maybe even more recently. And they were saying, you know, we know that the baby is now with Jesus Christ. We know that this was his plan. This was always meant to happen. And he's safe now and he's happy. And they had such a different mindset. And I was just mind blown, being like, holy shit, that must be so reassuring. Because when I went through it, I was like, fuck everyone. Like, I was so angry at just everyone for everything all the time. Whereas then to see people deal with a similar situation and be so... I mean, obviously they were upset, they were devastated, but they were just had such a level of like, this was always meant to happen, this is the plan, and he's happy now, he's with Jesus. And, you know, it was just so, like, I was like, whoa, this is bananas. Like, it's crazy to me that people think like that, and it, like, in a good way, because it's so reassuring. Yeah,
it's a different interpretation, and that's why belief systems have also been proven to turn on and off gene expression, right? So from an epigenetic standpoint, if let's say you're my mother and you have schizophrenia, and I am super scared of getting schizophrenia, and my interpretation is, I know I'm going to because she's my mother, how could I not? It is more likely for me to get it because my belief system is instilling in my body, there's no other way. So my gene expression changes. Now, same scenario, where let's say I'm a health obsessed person, right? And I'm like, well, my mother had it. I'm doing everything I can in my power because I can to never get it. Different gene expression.
and that can physically change if you get it or not.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's the gene expression.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's why the power of choice, the power of will and determination is proven to impact the way you see and experience your reality.
Wow. Okay, mind blown a little bit there.
Yeah, and this is why also when we talk about trauma, you want to take into account and check in, what do you believe about you that you can and cannot handle, right? So there are individuals that experience loss and infant loss and say, I cannot handle this. I can't. This is the worst thing I have ever experienced and the worst thing I'll ever experience. The more you stay within that, the more it's going to be true. Because you are reaffirming you cannot. You are not saying I cannot yet, but I'm going to learn this, that, and the other so that I can get past it. If you don't add that second component, you stay in it longer because you're saying I don't have the tools to get past it.
So this might be a controversial question, I don't know, but because I had the miscarriage, the first one at 5 weeks, and then had the abortion at 26 weeks due to medical issues. I then had 2 further miscarriages, and I remember thinking, like, obviously, oh my God, I hope I don't have a miscarriage, but also I'm probably going to have a miscarriage. Could that play a role in then having future miscarriages? The fact that you're convinced it's probably going to happen again anyway because life is shit and blah, 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 blah.
So yes and no. Yes and no. It depends on the intensity, right? So we're all living in a world where so much can happen. It's reality. So if I've had previous miscarriages or abortions, it is likely that I could. So that thought on its own is realistic. What I do with that realistic thought is where my determination, willpower, and belief system kicks in. So I could kill myself today if this doesn't work out. Yet, I'm going to choose not to because I have A, B, and C. So just like experiencing infant loss can be so terrible and not spoken about so much, suicide kind of falls in the same lane. There's plenty of people every day that think of, I could probably kill myself, but they choose not to, and they go with a different expression of that. So when we're in any type of overwhelming situation, and when we are experiencing something that was so dear to us, like infant loss, the reality is it's going to be shitty as hell. And it's going to be bringing in fear about the future. Nevertheless, what are the tools that I know I have or I can gather to make that different, to shape that different, right? So that's the second component.
Is there anything else you think that people should know in regards to trauma after infant loss that we haven't talked about so far?
Well, there are alternative modalities when it comes to supportive services. So I did speak of therapy and support groups there, but there are energetic modalities like Reiki, like womb healing, like Akashic records, like chakra balancing, that have to do again with the belief that as energetic beings, we can receive benefits from energetic modalities. But if you, even though science has proven that we are energetic beings, don't believe or don't subscribe to that magazine, then just know that there are alternative ways that you can try. Because some people are like, I'm desperate, I'll try anything, right? And they step out of their normal option set or tool set. Then there are alternative modalities that you can try. So for instance, womb healing, that is usually offered to women, but men can also receive womb healings because we all have feminine and masculine energies within us, and men also create life, right? So womb healings have to do with the concept that we are beings that give birth to life. And life doesn't necessarily just mean children and offspring. Life means ideas, creativity, plans, goals. So when you want to experience a womb healing, you are going to be receiving kind of like a massage into your womb area that is going to target releasing some of the tension in the womb. Womb healings also come with herbal medicine, where you can take or be around certain remedies or herbal tinctures to assist your body, because our skin is our largest organ, so it receives a lot. So for that tension in our tissues, some of the herbal medicines, traditional ancient healing, is going to offer herbal remedies for the skin to take in the benefits of the herb and work in assisting your body to relax, to release some stuff, to purge maybe some tension that is going to be energetically released through your vomit or through your pooping, right? So there are different ways that you can release. When it comes to tapping, because the body holds tension, there's different tapping techniques that you can also use to assist the release of stored emotions or stored issues in your tissues.
Okay. When you talk about the chakra balancing and the Reiki, that can sound super woo-woo to some people. Mm-hmm. Do you think people can still benefit from that even if they don't fully believe in it? Or do you think it only really works if you believe in it and you want it to happen, you believe it will help? Is there an element of the mental sort of understanding of it as well?
So you don't have to believe in it as long as you're open to it, right? So you have the individuals that say, I want to try something because I can't continue on like this. Whatever that is, I'm open to it, right? So I don't believe in it necessarily, but I'm open to it. And as long as you're open to it, your intention is going to take you in many possible routes. So because we're energetic beings, there is this energetic transfer, right? So let's say you are feeling sad, and I'm like, do you need a hug, Rosie? And you're like, and I come and I hug you. That's energetic healing. So if you believe in hugs, you can believe in energetics.
I love that. Thank you so much for recording this video and for talking about trauma after infant loss. I really hope it helped some of the people watching. And yeah, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
So I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Yari. Like I said, her information will be linked down below if you want to go ahead and find her or message her. I wanted to do the affirmation for the week. So the affirmation is, I am strong and resilient. Each day I grow my ability to process and heal from my trauma. So I really love that. And then the book recommendation is, of course, The Body Keeps the Score. This is by Bessel van der Kolk. I think I'm saying that name correctly. So this highly regarded book explores how trauma affects the brain, body and mind, while offering insights into paths towards healing. The author draws from decades of experience in trauma research to show how unresolved trauma manifests physically and emotionally, and how holistic treatments including yoga, mindfulness and EMDR therapy can help individuals reclaim their lives. It's a must read for anyone looking to understand the deep embodied effects of trauma and how to heal. So I will leave that linked down below. I'll leave an Amazon link so it's super easy to shop. And yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this conversation with Yari. If you have any questions, please either reach out to myself or Yari. You can comment in the comment section down below. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok, send me a message there. You can also send me an email if you want to do that. And if you want to share your story of healing after infant loss, there will be a link down below as well where you can read other stories and you can also submit your own story. So thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next video and I'm sending you so much love and support. Bye.